Hello, my name is Nitin Pradhan, and I'm the co-founder of Career Trajectory. Career Trajectory is a digital career guidance and counseling program which is available on the internet for US and international students as well as their parents. In this series, we are going to talk about top US universities, and we are specifically going to cover a university called Rice University in Texas. So let's get going. So the first thing I want to actually talk about is that when you talk about US universities, there are lots and lots of very good universities in US. There are about 4,000 universities in total in US, and several of them are exceptionally good. Rice is one of them. It's one of the top tier universities in Texas, and that is why we are actually covering Rice University. And we are going to get into a real bit of depth when we are covering this Rice University. We are not just going to talk about fluff. We are going to talk about actual parameters and stats that are going to be helpful for you to try and make a selection about Rice University, and then actually help you guide how you can get admission and financial aid in Rice University. So before I get started on Rice University, I want you to understand where Rice University is located. Rice University is in Houston. For those of the international students who may not know where Houston is in Texas. This is where Rice University is. This is the heart of Houston. If you actually, go and zoom out, you can see Houston is in Texas. It's actually very close to Galveston, which is a really, really great beach that you can actually go out and actually stay. And of course, you know that Houston is in part of US. So it's really at the bottom part of US, right near Mexico. So that's where Rice University is located. Now, one quick thing before we actually get started on the university program itself, I want to talk about one particular program that I think you should absolutely enroll and get in. This is a completely free program. So if you go to scaleupusa.xyz and you click on Career Trajectory, and once you click on Career Trajectory, you can actually go and click on Start Free. You will come to a program which is going to be very helpful for you as we go through this series of lectures here today. So one of the things that you will get once you sign into the free program is this foundational program from Career Trajectory. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because we deal with both international and US students, and they seem to be making the same mistake time and time again. And so they pay very heavily, their parents pay heavily, and we don't want you to make those mistakes. So we have actually listed those top 10 mistakes here. So you should go out and actually take this free program and actually look at these top 10 mistakes, because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that most of the students are making. So with that, let's get into some actual data about Rice University. Now, the first thing I want to make sure that you understand is what we are doing here is not fluff. We're not just going to talk something irrelevant that's easily available on the internet. We are talking about stuff which is very in-depth, very specific to Rice University. And specifically what we are talking here is the report that Rice University sends the federal government each year. So this is as accurate a data as you can get about Rice University, reported by Rice University to the federal government. And we're going to actually look at some data there, which is going to allow you to plan better if you're trying to consider Rice University for application and financial aid. So the first thing I want you to understand is that, there were roughly about 1,000 students at an undergraduate level in Rice University that applied for the first time. There are also about 1,000 graduate students, so about 1,000 undergraduate students and 1,000 graduate students. If you want to understand, how they are breaking up in terms of various categories, non-resident aliens essentially are international students, and then there's a whole host of categories here. You can find how they're sort of breaking up. If you want to also find how many are going at a bachelor's degree, how many are going into master's level, this is a very detailed chart that you should look at. And the best way to do this is you can stop this video and actually study it, because this might be helpful in thinking where you are in respect to all the stats of who is applying to Rice University. Now, the second thing that I want you to be very aware of is try and understand your competition. So this is a chart that Rice University provides the federal government about how many people are applying, men and women, how many people are being selected, men and women, and how many of them are actually getting enrolled. So how many people are really going to apply, how many are going to get admitted, how many will actually get selected and actually enroll. This is actually a good starting point to compare where you are and how your chances are of getting into Rice University. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here is critical. Mark my words, it's critical if you're going to apply to Rice University. These are the parameters that Rice uses so that they can select the appropriate applicants. And so they have listed the appropriate criteria that they find very important, considered, and non-considered. And what I will tell you here is this is a very important criteria. You should absolutely look at how you compare to this very important criteria. And if you have anything important, then that again is worthwhile. Considered is not such an important category in my opinion. And obviously, if it's not considered, you shouldn't really bother about it. So look at what Rice University is looking at when it's selecting people. They are looking at the rigor of your secondary school record. So how good and how intense was a high school record? What was your class rank? What was your class GPA? Those are very important things for ICE. Standardization test scores are very critical. So again, if you get poor standardization test scores, this is probably not a university to apply. Application essays and recommendations. So these are very important to Rice University. Other activities which are non-academic that are important to Rice University include, extracurricular activities, talent and ability, and character and personal qualities. So these are some of the other ones which are very important. There are several others which are considered not very important. Amongst them is work experience. So if you have a ton of work experience, this is probably not the place which is going to give you a lot of credit for that work experience. So you need to understand what that situation is. So again, you need to really understand each university that you're applying, what are they considering as most important, and then compare that with what you have. Now, one of the things which I will tell you is if you actually go to the program that we actually talked about, which is, part of the ScaleUp USA program, it's called Career Trajectory. If you go there, what you will find is that beyond the foundational program, which I said is free, there is a whole host of premium activities there. And if you really want to get prepared for colleges and universities and save a ton of money and get into the right colleges with the right majors, then this is a program that you should invest in. And the investment is very low. It's as low as $50 a month. So it's anywhere anyone should be able to afford that. And you should be able to complete this program in a couple of months' time. And we also have a separate section for international students. But what I want to tell you is in that premium section, we get into this kind of discussions in great detail. So we are talking about application, college timeline, when you start doing what. We talk about how do you select a major. We talk about personal branding. I just want you to sort of be aware, if you look at what we talked here, personal qualities and characteristics. This is directly related to this whole idea of personal branding. And so if you want to really score well, you need to understand what's being discussed here. Obviously, if you want to do standardization tests well, there's a lot of guidance about, how do you take those tests? What are those tests? How do you prepare for those tests? That is actually available here. Again, it's going to get directly related to, the standardization tests that you need to look at. Some of the other things that we discuss is how do you select the right college? We have now talked about Rice, but this may or may not be the best fit for you. So we get into great amount of detail as to how do you select the right college, and then how do you really apply for financial aid, both scholarships and assistantships as well as student loans. So there's a lot of discussion here that we are going to come to a little later. And then we talk in depth about strong college applications, and this is again related directly to this aspect. If you want to have a strong college application, you better fix this whole part really well. You better show demonstratively that you have a great GPA, you are a great student, your college and schools are good, your recommendation letters are good. How do you really get good recommendation letters is a big issue. How do you get really good application essays is a big issue. And the big question is, how do you tie all of this together so that it looks like you have the talent and you have the personal characteristics and you have the ability to actually study in a particular college. That all needs to come together. The application needs to be holistic when you're applying to top level US colleges and universities like Rice University. So some of these issues are again discussed here in the career trajectory program. And so now let me get into some other very important topics. So one of the topics that we mentioned here is standardization tests. And the question comes, how do you know that your standardization test is really up to mark to apply to Rice University? And again, Rice gives out this very detailed chart to the federal government. You should actually stop this video and actually watch this video so that you can actually understand what these parameters are. So a couple of things here. If you're going for undergraduate degree, about 46% of folks who are applying are submitting SAT. 54% are submitting ACT. You need to understand that. Here are the 25th percentile scores of SAT. Here are the 75 percentile scores of SAT. Again, ACT scores are given here. And again, it's also giving you, the chance of actually, getting in based on score. So if you are in the 700 to 800 category in your SATs, you have a fairly good chance. If you're in the 600 to 700 category, your chances are lower. And then once you fall below 600, it's really not even worthwhile applying to Rice University. Same way, if you actually look at your composite scores for ACT, if you're in the 30 to 36, you have an excellent chance of getting into Rice. If you are below 30, probably not. That's probably not a university you want to go out and apply. So again, all of these data right here, very important. And you should be able to look at this data in great detail, and then you should start preparing based on all the information that's given in this career trajectory program that's available here. So as I said, you go to ScaleUp USA, you click on career trajectory. If you don't have the money, you can do the free program. If you have the money, you should go in and do either the monthly or the yearly program. That's really going to touch into all these aspects in great detail, because it's talking about the strategy that you can apply to US universities. Now, one final note that needs to be really looked at when you're applying to any university. What are the expenses? What's the kind of financial aid that university is going? And what is the net cost that you are going to pay? You meaning you, the student, or your parents, or both. So in terms of Rice, if you look at what they are actually predicting here, you can see that about in 2015 2016 the total cost or expenses were about $58,000. In 2018 2019 they have gone to about $65,000. You can see the breakup very clearly for the last 4 years. You can sort of gauge what price increases are coming, because you remember, once you get into first year, you're probably going to be there for 4 years and perhaps even longer, and then your price is also going to increase, so you need to take that into account. So the prices are increasing in Rice at about 3.8%, and the total price for Rice is $65,000, which is pretty high. But don't worry, Rice gives a lot of financial aid, and so the average financial aid that is being given is really listed here. So you need to again stop this video and actually look at it in greater detail. And if you want to find out how you exactly get to all this data and actually work on it, go back to the career trajectory program. So if you look at it, remember, about 722 students, have got some kind of financial aid. Here's the breakage of it. Here's the total amount of aid given. Here's the average amount of aid given. So you can look at all of these kind of things. What I want you to understand is this chart, net price. So this is the net price that full-time beginning undergraduate students who were awarded grants or scholarships from federal, state, or local government are paying. So the net price they paid in 2015 was about $22,000. net price they have paid in 2017, 2018 was $23,000. So that price is very, very affordable for a top class university. So that concludes our quick discussion, an in-depth discussion about Rice University. Again, if you're looking at top tier universities in US, Rice is clearly amongst them. Now, there are lots of other factors that I would suggest that you should look at before you select a university. And again, as I said, one of the most important factors that you need to look at is what I said, is the selection of the major. And there's a whole lot of discussion in the premium program about it, because you could have a situation where you select the right college but not the right major, and that could impact your career a whole lot. I'm not going to get into that discussion here, but as you know, you can find the right resource here on Career Trajectory, and we wish you all the best.